The match is live. Let's take it away.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Bruins, joined by the one, the only Hurix. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good indeed, and really excited to jump into another match, especially with those guys. I mean, the manager for this team, Nuki, I know pretty well. Known her for a very long time, so I'm really excited to see what this roster has in store for us because obviously they're looking pretty solid at the moment. In terms of the open division, they're a really strong team. I know everybody's looking out for these guys. They have a couple of names that people are looking out for, you know, like Hafikul, like Kib, like Craggy is another big one there as well. So I really think that it's going to be a cool match to watch here. I'm really looking to see what they're going to bring to the table. But Olba on the other side of things, making this a little difficult for me because Olba is a guy that I saw a lot over in NA, doing some of the weekly tournaments and stuff like that. During his tenure with Toronto Esports, who are now a really strong NA roster as well. But he's moved over. He's made the switch over to EU, over to a team that looks very solid, just the same. Lally going to be that tracer player for these guys, looking to have a breakout performance. I don't really know what to expect from this guy in particular, but we saw before with Poppy that, you know, having a stellar tracer can really make all the difference. You know, it really does mean a lot to have someone who's very, very proficient with that tracer. And now starting things off, I imagine Craggy's going to be doing just the same, trying to have another breakout performance for him as well, because I didn't really get to see a lot of him in the past. Obviously seen a little bit of his streams, but, you know, in terms of tournament play, I haven't personally seen a lot. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table here.
I've seen a bunch of them in the lineup of Team Singularity. He pretty much carried that team time and time again sometimes. I inadvertently called him Fraggy sometimes just because he was fragging out so hard. But the first skill, speaking of frags, will go over to Fusions. But a return is still pretty good. Start getting one on that particular one. But Kib and Hafikul still picking up the slack.
Now Craggy going forward, now putting that Mercy under fire as well. They're going to find that kill as well, and what a fast take there from those guys. Nuki did a fantastic job, at least as what we can see so far, of putting these guys together on a roster, and now they're going to make some swaps. They're going to actually switch Craggy over, or rather Fraggy over, as you like to say, to that Widow, and this is another opportunity here for him to kind of show off a little bit at the moment, as of course his Widow is very strong, but Olba's going to be contesting it, so they will have that little duel right now, and Olba right now is trying to show up, but Craggy going to take the first fire.
And on top of that, Hafikul, not to mention, he's already at 80% towards that Graviton. Crusade, though, ready to go with the Valkyrie, just in case. Snape should have a return answer soon enough, but Lally, with a post bomb, is going to look to go out over from the sides.
Now we see Stidge up here as well. Nobody is looking at him at all. Lally, nice pulse bomb to secure those kills onto that front line. Now opening things up, he can actually take down this Zenyatta, but the Widow almost finishes the job on him. Olba finally does actually kill off Craggy. There a little bit of an extended duel there for quite some time, but now it seems like the defense has made a hold with that last kill. Ruape is killed off, but for now it looks like that's all fine and dandy, as Snap does have that Valkyrie. These healers rather are insulated up on that high ground. They should be safe here as long as Olba can keep them that way, but the dive is going to come soon more than likely, and this is still a triple tank, but Fusion doesn't have that standard kind of defense that's you would typically see from a D.Va, so he's really going to have to rely on the Zarya here to protect him.
Oh, but the kill is all still in favor of ENCE Esports. Even dropping down, Snappy bringing back Cali, but not sure if it's really worth. Kib tried to do something there with that whole hog. Shouldn't be too successful, as he will go down, and Craggy is going to be forced to disengage.
So now they're going to actually move Hafikul over to that D.Va that I was talking about before, and this is going to enable Fusions a little bit. They're going to actually switch things up, do that more traditional dive setup with Kib going over to the Genji. This is originally what we saw a lot from Kib when he got picked up off the ladder to join up onto Reunited. I mean, that was over a year ago now. It seems like so long ago that this happened, but you know, he's going to be back over on that Genji. They're going to go for that traditional dive, and they're going to jump right onto these tanks just to start things off.
No kills so far just yet. Olba still uncontested, as actually Bok is going to go ahead and use Transcendence aggressively. No targets picked up just yet, and might question that particular use so far, as Stage is going to get the D soon. He will go down in the end. which will prompt a 1-for-1 trade. Fraggy though still finds Olva.
That's a big pickup too, because that opens up things now for Kib. He's gonna just go ahead and look for these supports in the backline, but Lally gonna deny him as he gets down low, but saves himself with that minor health pack. Going forward now, alongside Ruape, they make another hold, and look how dead this payload has been as it's stopped in its tracks. They keep surging forward. Fusions alongside Hackcool keep creating that space, getting aggressive, but they just can't secure those kills and secure those team fights to push it on forward. So now looking at this next fight, we're seeing Oba open up with the infra site. Stidge now has that Transcendence ready to go, and they're up top. So now if they do dive over here, Transcendence gonna come out. They should be pretty safe here.
Crusade still not opting into the block too early on into the fight, as they will continue on to dive. Craggy is gonna be the first one to go down. Oh, Kib answers with a kill onto Cali, but the Resurrect's gonna bring that Tracer back up onto his 2 feet. But overall, Snappy with the returns is gonna be a messy team fight.
Lally again just popping off right now. This guy has had such a performance so far as they've just been able to stop those guys over and over. But look at the kills coming online for those guys as Kib just popped off alongside Craggy rather. They went ahead, and this DPS duo really kind of came into form there. Olba, one of the last guys left standing here, as he's going to get dove on by Kib. He's going to find that last kill, and not only that, but he's coming away with this fight, or from this fight rather, with that Dragon Blade. Gonna have that opportunity to pull that out, but they're gonna need to find those kills quickly, as Stitch is still holding on to that Transcendence here, has the opportunity to actually deny that blade from Kib if he actually does wind up getting in position to do that.
Are gonna go ahead and jump on the payload so far. Ruape going in with the Primal Rage, pushing the opposition away. Bot opting in with the Transcendence. That's gonna come from both sides. Havical picks up the double kill, and it's a 2-for-1 advantage for those guys.
Those guys really patient. Very good play from their tanks actually to start this fight off. They should be able to close this one out. Hopefully they don't have to use the blade either. So that was, again, really good patience from Kib. He didn't use that blade. That was very smart from him as the Transcendence came out. But then also, you look at Fusions popping that Primal Rage, taking Stidge out of that fight completely when he popped that Transcendence, so they weren't able to get that healing. Hackcool with a great self-destruct to get those 2 starting kills, just to kind of push that momentum, start the snowball rolling. Now moving into the last stage of the fight, Kib has that blade still. They have great positioning to be able to pull this off, because if you think about it, I mean, there's nothing to really deny him. Olba doesn't have that attack visor anywhere close, as he just made that swap, so nothing can deny the blade from Kib.
When he picks up a kill, and that could be enough to enable him. He does pop it out. Fats the target onto Snappy. That is the prime what you're looking for, and he's gonna demech Cali. This is gonna be an easy run for those guys.
But as they come forward now, Lally's coming around alongside Olba. They don't see him on this high ground. They're going to go ahead and dive right in, now trying to take down Crusade on that Mercy, but he's going to pull back. He's going to damage boost everybody that's sitting on the payload right now, and that's huge because they should be able to be very lethal right now. Pulse Bomb comes out, does stick on Diffusion's shield, but the save comes from Hackcool out with the projected barrier, and look at this, the damage, like all over the point right now from those guys. They're just looking to secure this. We see the Transcendence come out as well. That should be that, as the Earthshatter comes down, takes down Lally. Snap gonna fall more than likely as well, just before he actually manages to get that res off on Lally. That's the only guy left. They should be able to secure this. Blade comes out from Kib. That's it. They're able to take that last point here and flop over now to the defense.
It was just a matter of time there at the end, as no kills coming through for ENCE Esports means it was just too easy for those guys to close it out. And as you said, Kib was ready to go with that blade going to that last team fight. No real answer available for ENCE Esports.
Hello? Anyone out there?
Really solid stuff starting out. A little bit of a hiccup in that second stage, but as soon as they wound up going over to that full dive, you know, it took them a little bit, but after they kind of got their bearings, everything worked out quite well for them. We saw the tanks, especially obviously Fusions and Hackcool, as Kib had already swapped over. They really had a great performance there on that last point to secure, or rather the second point, just to secure that objective. And now we're seeing them on the defensive side actually going for a triple tank setup, something interesting to see as well, as it's pretty similar to what we saw in the quad tank just before on Nepal from But you know what? Here's the difference. This is a big difference too. It's something that we saw a lot before with the triple tank. Is that soldier being brought into play? That's not something we saw. We saw the quad tank earlier on the Paul, and Craggy now is on the soldier. So this is going to provide a lot more consistent damage threat, especially as he's going to be insulated back up on that high ground more than likely. They could also just keep him inside of the tanks. That's another great option as they're using those 2 healers that are going to be able to keep him up. Right there, but they're not having a mercy. And on defense here, not having a mercy could spell defeat. So I don't know. I mean, what do you make of not having the mercy here on defense for first point?
Just like you mentioned, not having the mercy could be the very thing that will spell defeat, as 1 pick is gonna be enough for the offensive team here, but maybe expecting over the Pharah is gonna make Craggy more effective in the end. And as we don't see any Widowmaker option really here, picks are less likely to happen.
Olba is going to be on that Pharah, and this is where you really like to see Craggy on that soldier. Will be able to potentially deny them a little bit, at least to some degree, of that Pharah just being very aggressive, jumping in. But he's still going to get a lot of ult charge off of this front line. But in order to get that kind of space, he has to pressure out the soldier, and it's basically on him to do that. So he has a little bit of a double job right now. It's going to be pretty tough for Olba to figure that one out.
But so far, once again, with that split, with Lally going off for the sides rather, he is able to do quite a bit of damage, just divert the attention of the defensive team here for those guys. As Cali, at the very least, will be dissuaded. And Kib actually will be able to go ahead and hook him up, gets that particular kill. With that, they will push away the opposition.
So far, really working out quite well, but most importantly, look at the support ults, not just for the side of those guys, which you would expect to be rather high as they're running that triple tank setup and utilizing this for those ultimates to come up rather quickly. But look at the other side too. I mean, we see the Zenyatta and the Mercy both ready to go because of how slow these fights are going, but because they're just damage soaking on both sides. There's a lot of damage coming out, a lot of healing coming out because of it.
And going in a bit too early with the Valk, if you ask me, as Craggy is going to be able to still pick up one, and with the Resurrect onto Olba is not going to be enough, as the Tech Visor answer is more than enough for those guys. And with 55 seconds remaining, or rather 2 minutes, 20 seconds remaining, apologies. Hurix, what should be the big change here for ENCE Esports?
Well, you really got to figure out how to deal with Craggy, right? I mean, he's just sitting up on second floor of Cafe right now and just, really kind of safe because Olba can't get that spacing that he needs to be able to start dealing with Craggy, set him off, put him over to that first floor so that the rest of his team can dive in and have some efficacy off of the dive. So now he's going to get hooked in. Olba going to get taken down, so he's not going to even be able to do that at all. They still dove on Craggy regardless, but I don't think it's going to really come to anything.
He's not going to be back up just yet, but as you said, it shouldn't matter. 2 members remaining for the side of ENCE Esports that will run with their tails between their legs, and as a result, Fusions even pick him up a stagger kill. Even Ruin going down, it's going to be huge for those guys.
So they dove on Craggy. They're definitely trying to, gun for him. As I said, that's definitely what you want to be able to do, especially as he gets ever closer to that attack visor. He's only at 36% right now, but, considering the fact that you can generate that quickly, he is always going to be a threat. So Olba now trying to dive in alongside the rest of these tanks, and they finally do find that kill. So this is a big opening for them. Remember, no mercy on the side of the defense.
It is a 3-for-1, and as a result, this should be ENCE Esports' team fight to win. Even with the Resurrect coming through for Olba, they will finally get this point. Most likely Crusade even popping the sound barrier, just trying to extend that duration, but unsuccessful means that finally ENCE Esports find their way onto the board.
So they're just going to pop both of those ults because more than likely they're going to be making those swaps over to the different supports, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Bach and Crusade are going over to Zenyatta and Mercy respectively, so they just wanted to take a little bit more time off the clock because they were going to make those swaps anyway, so I really do like that. Rue going to be sent back. Once again, we do see that Widow duel between Craggy and Olba, and last time we did see a little bit of back and forth between those two guys. Now we're going to have to see what comes of this next phase as the Graviton comes down.
Gonna get only 1 kill, doesn't find the Mercy just yet, and Cali actually gets a retreat call after Happy Kill. That's surprising, and with Olba picking up Craggy as well, this might rapidly turn in favor of ENCE Esports.
And in the Overwatch League, we've seen how, you know, having a very strong Widow can just save fights that just didn't look salvageable to begin with. Oba looks like he's having a very fantastic performance to begin with. Obviously, that one was looking much in the way of ENCE Esports to begin with, but, you know, now looking forward, if he continues having this kind of display, I mean, we could very well see ENCE Esports taking this one and a little bit of a shocker. They look very strong. Do not get me wrong, but, you know, the roster that we've seen come out from those guys is very strong indeed, and I kind of put them ahead, but really looks like ENCE Esports are going to be putting on a little bit of a show for us today, for sure.
Fraggy picking up that kill would potentially prompt in the Resurrect Grape, answers with a kill of his own, but Crusade should be good to go with the Resurrects if need be. Bach, good on the Transcendent side of things, as it is going to be Kib getting the D2, gets the Blade, finds Olba, but no other targets just yet, as the Winston and Kali, no frontline, no tanks for ENCE Esports left.
Bach was able to hold on to that Transcendence in that last one, but they're going to be opposing one from Stitch as well. And just like a lot of these other names, I'm probably getting that one wrong too, but that's okay. He'll forgive me probably, maybe not. But we do see the Infrasight coming out from Olba now, as he's going to go ahead and look for an opportunity to get some pick action going on, as Zenyatta is going to be his prey. But can he find the kill? And it's not looking like it's going to be an opportunity that he's going to be able to take advantage of, as these guys are just diving in all over him. Kib and Craggy just on him like crazy right now. Find that kill, and once again, those guys pull out another team fight victory here.
And interestingly enough, Lali did manage to get both supports of those guys, but unfortunately for him, wasn't quite enough. The rest of his team falling short to the dive of those guys.
Not without the ability to really kind of dive right on top of that soldier and create an opening, which allowed them to get that first point. You have to find the supports here, but because of the fact that they're so aggressive on the side of those guys, it's hard for them to get in. And it's ready for Bach, a nice kill. Both supports found from Happy Cool.
And now Craggy pick up a double kill of his own. It's gonna be easy peasy for those guys. Overtime kicks in, nobody left on the point, and it is going to go over to those guys.
Dating back to when we saw Happy Cool picked up initially by Fnatic, we saw some great Diva play to kind of answer the call for a roster hold that they had initially. Boy, is he having a performance here on the Diva once again, really showing out that not only is he still just as good, but probably even a little bit better here. And what a great performance from those guys as a whole.
And as a result, it will be 1-0 in favor of them. As we'll move on to short break, don't go anywhere.
What a dominant performance by those guys to open the series up. They did seem to be in control fully throughout the match. They did kind of show a bit of a weakness on a second attacking point, but for the rest of the objectives, they really showed a stellar performance.
For the most part, yes, but I gotta give it to ENCE Esports as well. On top of that, Olba really coming up huge on that Widowmaker, and on top of that, even Lolly, honestly, on their Tracer, finding those supports time and time again, did make it a little bit more difficult for those guys, but as you said, overall, in the grand scheme of things, a dominating performance by those guys.
Those two definitely did delay the second point a lot, and they were basically the main reason why they had success on a second point. Now, I was a bit afraid when they took Moira and Lucio on a defense, those guys, but it did work well in the end. They stalled it till 1 minute, I believe.
Pretty much, and as we've talked about it with Hurix, that's the big issue you encounter if you don't pick up a Mercy in the current meta. If you get a couple of picks, that it's very much so the end of your defensive hold, because no Mercy for the res means the opposition is just going to steamroll through that first point.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to take a risk, and this time it definitely paid off. Now, next up, we have Hanamura, it seems, and it seems like ENCE Esports is going to start on the defense. Do you think this gives them the upper hand in the matchup?
It could potentially be the case. Of course, it really is on whether or not, personal preference when it comes to defense or offense to start things off and set a precedence potentially. But in terms of the compositions themselves, I would expect Olba to potentially pick up that Widowmaker some more, for sure. Lolly, of course, with that Tracer play, why would you change that as well? And overall, at the roster, just try to keep up that coordinated potential target choosing.
Yeah, keep played also awesome on Hollywood, and I expect to see the same performance on Genji by him on Hanamura. Now the match seems to be ready. Casters, take it away.
And we're off for our second map of the night here for this particular series. It is going to be Hanamura with ENCE Esports starting out on defense. And as we previously touched upon, Hurix, what do you think about starting on defense rather than offense?
Well, I mean, obviously they want to make a statement, right? They want to try to make a big hold here if they can. They just went down on the first map, so they really kind of want to make a statement here, and a bold one at that, because they need to make a big hold so that they have the momentum and the morale for their team, at least, to be able to, dive back in, try to get a win here on Hanamura to take it to a game 3. Otherwise, those guys are going to have just so much going for them going forward. Now, on the attacking side here for those guys, I'm very interested in what they're going to be bringing to the table. I mean, you kind of expect the dive, right? You kind of expect Fusions and Happy Cool to be on the Winston Diva combo, especially given that, Kib and Craggy look so very strong as a DPS duo, diving in, executing alongside that tank core. But how are they going to answer it? Obviously, they have a little bit of a counter dive. They have Olba over here on the Soldier, so maybe they're going to dive in on the Soldier here to start things off, but they're going to be trying to deal with not only the Soldier, but also both supports just kind of pocketing him a little bit in this backline. So it's going to be kind of hard. They're going to have to overextend a little bit at the tank line. I'm not sure how they're going to want to approach this.
And we'll see so far. Just going for the checkpoint, bold approach as they're looking for those targets. As you said, Olba might be the prime target, but Kib actually going in for the Soldier here on offense, as he's going to be the first one to go down.
Just kind of caught out a little bit as they went in. Defense Matrix not covering the entire way in, as that change maybe made a little bit of a difference with Defense Matrix not lasting as long, or maybe that was just a little bit of a bad play from Happy Cool, just missing it. It's hard to say. I didn't get to see, but they're still going to be slowly working their way in as Kib is back up now from that res, and he's just looking for an opportunity as Craggy just controlling the other side. They already got the Zenyatta versus Zenyatta kill, but that's going to be rezzed up as well.
It's going to equalize fake 6v6 still on the board here for both teams, as the ultimate advantage is slightly in favor of the offensive team, as Kib is going to go down again. Crusader will be able to pick him back up with the Valkyrie. Craggy gets the best of Lolly, and Kylie actually gets a kill with that self-destruct.
That was a very, very big kill because it was inside of the barrier. I think Fusions thought he was safe, but he got rezzed up anyways. Craggy with a big pulse bomb, not only taking out Olba, but also denying the Mercy as well. And now now Snap who did have that Valkyrie when he died off inside that pulse bomb. He's going to come away. He does have that Valk. They could have maybe shifted that momentum back with a couple of reses, but Craggy denying that one outright. Now we see Kib with that Tac Visor, Oba with one of his own. We've already seen Tac Visor versus Tac Visor already in this tournament with it going both ways back on the Paul Shrine. But here, going to be a little different on Hanamura as we look to see those guys trying to control this high ground, get a little bit of a vantage point for Kib.
But Lale will be lying off on the sides, looking for those targets, setting his sights onto Bok. He doesn't have the Transcendent, so he could be that squishy target he needs, but Snappy with the Valkyrie could delay things enough for his rest of his team, rather, as they will try to get high ground advantage once again. They will, however, stop contesting it, as those guys are looking to aggress onto the point.
But they took a lot of time to get there, and what a great counter dive coming out in the fusions, but they allowed just enough time for Crusade to actually get his Tac Visor off. Kib pulls out one of his own, and now Kib unloading on these guys as Half-Be-Cool takes out another kill. Transcendence coming out now for Stitch, trying to get everybody back up and healthy as he pulls back as it ends, and Craggy still finding those kills, denying Ruape after the Transcendence comes out, and Respawn's coming in now for the side of the fence.
And not only that though, Kib being uncontested on the high ground means that he's already at 53% towards the next Tac Visor, and as a result, at this point it's almost a matter of time unless the defensive team here for ENCE Sports get any pick. And Crusade going down could be just that.
This is such a dominant showing from those guys who pushed into this fight. They lost their tank immediately. They have control on the point right now, but they need to slow these respawns out if they can. Lolly with a great kill onto Happy-Cool, who is out of mech. And now we're seeing Oba making that swap for ENCE Esports as he's looking to try to deny Kib. A lot of damage coming out onto Kib, and those guys still somehow hanging on because of Craggy's ability to stay on this point and kill off anybody who comes over to him. 1v6 potentially.
He was still alive for such a long time, took both tanks down, says, okay, this is all I need, I have all the space. And with Bok picking up Lale as well, fusions onto Ruape, things are not looking good for ENCE Esports as they only have one more tech to work with. Craggy picking up Olba, now Snappy going down, this should be it. Those guys will be picking up Hanamura.
Oh my god. Primal Rage coming out as well. Going to be denied by the Pulse Bomb. Craggy with one of the best Tracer performances I think we'll see in this tournament. And I mean, at this early of a stage to be able to see a performance like that, that's the kind of thing to expect from a guy like this. He was very, very strong on Singularity. We didn't get to see him last year in the first pit as he was on the other Singularity roster, but he since moved over and then now is on those guys and has really meshed quite well with them so far, I would have to say. They are looking very solid. 354 is their time bank, and now they have the opportunity to try to make a hold, and that defensive start, I don't know. I mean, now that you look at it with the time bank like 354, that's a little daunting, especially considering what happened just before on Hollywood, where they really kind of got shut down pretty early on.
And I'm really curious as which picks ENCE, because Oba at the very end there did go over to the Widowmaker trying to get a few resets, potentially with a few picks here and there, but didn't really pay off. I think that swapping over to something like a Soldier would have paid more dividends. But now that we will move on to the next round, we will see him stick to the Widowmaker. So again, speaking of those picks, how important do you think will this Widowmaker pick be?
Well, I mean, we've seen Olba do great things with it. I mean, even back on his days with the Toronto esports team, you know, he was really, really solid with that pick as well. We didn't see it too much. Now you're certainly seeing it a lot more than what he pulled out back then. But this is an entirely different arena, too. I mean, playing against those guys is a little bit different, I would say. But now I expect that he's going to get some good picks, but ultimately I think those guys is the type of team, especially with their dive, especially with how efficient they are and how well they work together, how cohesive this team is. I expect that they are going to be able to find a way to try to deny Olba, and they're going to be able to pull that off rather efficiently.
And we'll find out soon enough as the round will start. Olba sticking to the Widowmaker, as said. We'll look for a few targets, tries to go onto the high ground. Doesn't find one just yet. Is pocketed by the Mercy, so with the damage boost could potentially dish out plenty of damage to the opposition. But as you said, Kib and Craggy waiting for the time to strike. But now over all the way on top, he will be contested. Olba will be forced to go back towards the supports, but Ruib will be the first one to go down.
Oh! And you were asking me just before about ENCE Esports, how they're going to be able to use Olba on that Widowmaker, and how about just like that, 2 instant picks, one very importantly actually onto Crusade, denying those guys from being able to get that res. Now with 3 minutes on the clock, they should be able to secure it. It will be just under when they actually get this objective finally secured, but now moving over to point B in just a matter of time after the kill off Kiv here, who is delaying just a little bit. But after moving over to B, they have a lot of time now to work with, and they certainly have a couple of options themselves as well. But look at this, they have to deny Kib. They do have the Transcendence available, so there is a really, really strong possibility that they will be able to do just that. But Olba has had quite a run so far on this Widowmaker.
And with Craggy being on the Tracer, they can definitely still just do that, as they will try to contest the high ground. Pulse Bomb is not going to find any target. Lally will try to get a return kill, doesn't find anything just yet. Hafikul will get these suited. Crusade as well. Snappy still not opting in for those Valks, not using them too early. Could decide the win for this next team fight, as Kib still really patient with that Dragon Blade. Will get the kill onto Stitch, as he still had Transcendence.
Yeah, he doesn't want to pull it out because he knew that that res was a possibility, and if we did see that Zenyatta get res while that blade was out, that could have been all but denied. So I do like that patience again displayed by Kib for now the second time with that blade. Just before on Hollywood, he showed great patience with it, but now here you're going to have to do a little bit more than that. Olba now looking for that opening pick that got them started on point A. And now it's looking like he's going to be looking at Zenyatta as his primary target, who's kind of insulated back there on the back left.
Now Kib's still lying it away, trying to find his moment, his time to strike, as Dragon Blade should be following up soon. At the very least, after Stitch is forced to use that Transcendence, of course that could nullify said ultimate, but Hafikul, actually Craggy getting Lally with a Pulse Bomb. Kib killing Olba with that dash, and as a result, kills going left and right for those guys, but Blade not really needed there, I'd say.
Craggy's a very aggressive Tracer, and by that I mean he uses his blinks a lot, so he's obviously always in the backline, he's always putting those guys under duress. Wow, it's going to be very difficult to cast those guys, because I want to say those guys as just a regular term, but anyways. So he's now, of course, putting the backline of ENCE Esports under duress constantly. So when you start seeing him kind of pulling back, being a little bit more passive, that's when you actually have to be a little worried, because that's when he's storing up those blinks to get that Pulse Bomb out, really kind of start being aggressive once again. So I really get a little worried for these backline for ENCE Esports when Craggy starts pulling up those blinks.
Ooh, but Kib is actually gonna go down after diving in. Both supports are ready to go on both ends with those ultimates, and Snappy will be the first one to pull the trigger. Stitch is gonna go down, will prompt out the Resurrect, and Transcendence might follow shortly, but not just yet. Finally goes down, kills overall pretty equal, but Kib will still picking up Olba in the end.
Stitch pulled out the Transcendence, but is now very vulnerable to a dive at the moment, and we see Fusions doing just that with that Primal Rage. They're needing to get onto the point now, and they do have control, but they want to be able to find some kills off the dive. They find one in a big way as well, as they find not only the Mercy, but also Stitch on that Zenyatta, and they will be pulling him out of the fight. Look at the time bank, though, as it has wound down past what we saw those guys capture it with. And now as we move on, so far pretty good attacks, I would say, from ENCE Esports, but just not able to close out on that last one in the same way that we saw Craggy pretty much by himself able to pull off for those guys just before.
They will at the very least still have the Transcendence on the defensive side if need be, whereas on the offense, Alba's gonna look to build enough space with that Tech Visor, potentially looking to go off to the sides, but Kali going in now onto Crusade, and Hafikul will be helped up by the rest of the tank line. Forced out of that high ground though, this could be the opening they need.
Craggy still being pretty aggressive. Olba gonna be throwing him off now as he unleashes Attack Visor on top of that. Transcendence is out. Fusions goes down. Big opening now, but Lolly falls, and that's huge as he, I believe, kills himself with, was that the Pulse Bomb? I think he killed himself with Pulse Bomb trying to kill off the Mercy, but now they're going to be backed off one more time here. Those guys securing another hold. 2:15 about on the clock at the moment. Really solid defense with this counter dive so far, and a little bit of a misplay from Lolly to allow that to happen.
And with 2 minutes left on that timer, they still haven't even achieved one single tick on that point. And Fusions as well as Kib will be looking to have those ultimates ready to go in this next team fight, but Snappy with his Valkyrie should look to turn things around.
Craggy again playing a little passive now. Again, remember what that means for these unfortunate souls playing support for ENCE Esports. Ruape going to be taken down pretty early. That's going to basically allow the dive to happen from those guys. They're going to dive right on through. Kib unleashing the blade. He's going to find those kills that he needs to just secure that fight for those guys one more time. It just seems clinical at this point.
And the big problem here for ENCE Esports is that they did commit the Valkyrie over onto Snappy, and with 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining, they pretty much have one or two team fights left in them. And
Craggy with that Pulse Bomb available too.
Exactly. You always have to keep your eye out for Craggy.
And when he does have that Pulse Bomb and stores up those blinks, you know you can expect him to get that double, triple blink sometimes and just dive right into the back line, throw it right onto that right onto those supports. He throws it out this time, but not going to find anything. Does get off a little bit of damage, which enables Kib to just swift strike through, find himself a couple, at least for that duo partner now, and they're going to be flowing out. But it's just been time and time again where those guys dive in, execute so perfectly, pulling out just the right kills, getting a lot of instantaneous damage, really kind of enabling their Genji player Kib here to just get a lot of resets, a lot more damage off as well. And it's been shut down completely for ENCE Esports, who now have their last chance to make this point go in their favor.
That's the big problem. Even if Craggy is not going to be the one to take you down, Kib is going to be there for sure, as they will have one more fight left in them. 10 seconds remaining. They will go ahead and use Transcendence aggressively. We'll try to get onto the point. Nobody to contest just yet, but now with the Primal Rage being used as well as the Dragon Blade, they're going to try to find those targets. All but the first one to go down, but the answer onto Kib could be good enough. It is a 2 for 2. Resurrect is going to bring two of them back up though, and with that, this should be those guys' team fights to win.
Well, and you have to deal with Craggy too if you want to be able to make this happen, and so far they haven't been able to do that just yet. Lolly almost getting taken out by the 300 IQ Pulse Bomb and denies it, makes it a maybe 20 as Olba goes down as well, and that will be those guys securing not only this map but the match along with it.
And what a swift 2-0 win for them as well, just putting down a statement for things to come for this tournament.
So we did see a great play there from Craggy. I mean, it was exactly what we were looking at before, but I think it was before that actually where he had the best performance, the biggest impact, where he was able to find those 2 kills when really it was just him and one other person left on the point. The tanks were gone.